pro football's combined passing and rushing leader. Damon, how are you doing, man?
I'm doing very good. How are you guys doing?
Well, Damon, it's great to bring you into the Juke because, I know you juked a few defenders right out of their shoes. Probably broke their ankles and their hearts, and got a coach like me on the tape be like, hey, can I play that back again? Wait, didn't you say you had an outside why'd you do him like that? But for those of you listening, Damon is a dear friend of mine, and I could not think of a better person to talk to today than you, seeing as how, Damon, there were CFL, XFL talks going on today. Now, I'm hoping that, the all-timer, the Hall of Famer might have a little inside scoop. Do you have any inside scoop for us?
No, I don't have a lot of inside scoop due to the fact that the news just came out here in Canada today about the potential merger. But I do have questions about the merger and how close it is to the season of 2021 and the protocols. So I have a lot of those questions because the CFL did hire the NHL advisor person that dealt with the how the NHL is going to play this year, with all the Canadian teams pretty much playing all the Canadian teams, and they're not going across the border, and they're going to play like each team like 10 times or something like that. That's going to be the record. And I think the hockey teams in the States are going to stay in the States and play. And so there's different divisions, no crossing the borders. And so with that combination of talks, now I'm wondering, why would you bring out this kind of information about the potential, two leagues coming together? And, there's a rich history in the Canadian Football League. And then you're dealing with the XFL, who had two-fold, and I'm not sure if they had any successful years, 5 years success in a row, to deal with the league that had, two cancellations already.
Well, obviously, Damon, like from my perspective, the importance of having alternative leagues to the NFL, right? Like, I'm sorry, wait, what was that? How many Grey Cups did you win?
Yeah, four.
Enough.
Right?
Four.
And obviously one of the greatest ballers of all time, and yet was not in the NFL, right? And we've seen that there is tons of talent that is not necessarily, for whatever reason, in the National Football League. How do you feel about the importance of having, obviously an alternative to the NFL? And do you see that something like a CFL XFL merger could, up the ante and maybe even compete with the NFL in terms of where talent go?
Well, I think then you should have the conversation directly to the NFL and merge that way, where now the NFL has a bundle of money to be able to give to the CFL and work out some kind of, their players are not getting an opportunity to play. They would play one of these teams to make sure they stay active, just like basketball in a sense. You put them, their players are not playing into a bubble. They would probably have to play Canadian rules, but when you go back to playing football, the foundation of playing football, tackle, catch, and all those things is still the same. Our rules are just a little bit different because we can be more creative in our formations. Everyone can be in motion, and so that makes the game very interesting. But at times it could be actually harder than what you see in the National Football League.
How do you think?
Boy, hold on. I got to go with the high motion on this.
Go ahead.
I got the boss here, right? Like my first coaching job was in indoor football, and we had high motion of 2 receivers. Okay. And, being a defensive coach, that's already tough, right? Like I don't think people realize, you're not jamming off the line when they're coming in high motion because you don't get that opportunity. So, then you talk about actually being able to put everybody in motion.
Absolutely.
Tell me what that's like, because I don't think people in the States necessarily understand what that allows you to do as an offense, and how that makes the game kind of faster and puts pressure on the defense.
Well, it puts pressure on the defense because you can line up for example, you can line up in a quads, 41 set, and motion into bunch with an empty set. And so so now all of a sudden the quads become 41 becomes 42, an empty set, and then the motioning across. You can put all the receivers in the backfield or all the slot backs in the backfield and motion from there. And so it really, if you're playing cover one, it's really a really good indicator to tell man or zone, because if it is man, all the DBs will be in the box waiting to see which one they're going to come out. And so it makes the game very interesting, just like our special teams, no fair catch. But this is how crazy the game could be. If someone can invest in the CFL game, like a Madden game online, it will be absolutely nuts to be able to defend all motioning, what you can do formation wise, the movements and everything else. And that's what makes it different, because defensively, you really got to stay in communication mode because you have to track 2 and 3 guys at one time.
That's right. And for so much of the game planning that we do on defense, it's contingent on formation, right? Mm-hmm. So the second you put all of those guys in motion, from a coaching perspective, it makes it really tough in terms of breaking, right? Because, you can start one way and we're going to make a call based on the formation down and distance. Right. And then you can motion into something else, and you'd almost have to double call it. Is that what they typically do? Do they double call?
Well, I think that's what makes the defense so difficult. Like defenses that don't communicate, then they'll have a difficult time being able to handle, because like I said, you can go in motion from everyone from the backfield headed to a 41 set, and then 2 receivers can go back to the boundary, and it turns into a 23 set with 3 receivers to the boundary and 2 to the field. And so if you're not communication, or if you are in zone, you can tell the difference when you're not in zone and when you're in man. And so just the tracking aspect and the ability to communicate defensively, and that's what you want to do offensively. You want the defense to be in communication mode throughout the whole time until the ball snaps. Yeah, so if you just line up in a basic, like for example, in the NFL, if you just line up in a basic 22 set with no motioning, there's not a lot of communication that defense have to do there. You're in your formation, and then, they make the call, make the defense, and then, hey, they're waiting for the ball to snap. But when you put in multiple formations, there's multiple calls that have to be made. And like saying, you only want someone to bust a call or someone to be wide open based on, what you're going to do offensively. And I think that's the biggest thing, especially in our game. We really take advantage of the motioning, because defensive wise, the coverages are always been the same over the last probably 20 years. Everyone's still running cover 1, cover 2, and cover 3. That hasn't changed. They may mix a little bit of match coverage, way teams play match differently, but the evolution of football hasn't really changed on the defensive side of the ball.
How do you think, along the same lines there, the CFL game with the motion and of course, that unique element has impacted the NFL and maybe the college game as well?
Oh, it's definitely. You see pistol sets, which when pistol sets started to being shown in the National Football League, it was when RG3 was running the pistol, right, with the running back behind him. Now you start to see it in college, but 6 or 7 years prior to that, the CFL has been doing the pistol because now it's so much easier and it's more difficult to defend and figure out what side he's going to go in shotgun than it is him being on the right side of you. He's going to come across the formation in the zone read. And so I think with the pistol set, it really balanced out the defense, and they're going to have to be in a reaction mode because they don't know if he's going to the right or to the left based on the pistol set. So, yes, I think the CFL has had a influence of the National Football League, especially now than ever. especially in the passing game, because you're throwing the football more in the National Football League now in the last 5 years than they have in 20 years.
And Damon, I'm going to have to go here because you are one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. And I always say that football is full contact chess. So as the quarterback, you are the chess master, right? Like that is you, and you being one of the greatest, right? Tell me what it takes to be a great quarterback, because there's a lot of great quarterback conversations going on right now. There's a lot of movement, and I definitely want to tap you on some of them. But for those of you who don't know, like this perspective from this is one of the greats looking at the current greats, and I think that you can give us an insight like none other. At least I know, because I listen all the time, and you know I'm trying to pick up all the cheat codes from you.
Jen, I think he was ahead of his time, actually. I think he's truly ahead of his time as a quarterback. You see guys now like Kyler Murray and Russell Wilson and all these guys that very similar style.
Absolutely.
That's why we need to hear it from him, so we can get the scoop on these guys who are, standing on his shoulders for really setting the standard of the game of football.
And sometimes that's why history is so important, because to understand the direction the National Football League were going at first. I mean, when you're a two-way athletic quarterback, I mean, they were switching your position. Then now it's to the point now they looking for the guys who can run and throw, because of the fact is no longer you can put probably your worst athlete behind the center anymore. But even if you have pocket passers, some of those pocket passers are really good at what they do, or like read defense, get the ball out, very efficient in the pocket. And so, those are the Peyton Mannings and the Tom Brady's and who else? The Drew Breeses, the guys that don't necessarily have to run to keep a play alive, but just their toughness mentally and physically, their decision making and their accuracy. And those are the things that, to me, regardless if you're a pocket passer or a two-way quarterback, those are the three criteria you need. I mean, yes, there's other criteria that quarterbacks have in their ability, but for me, the three, number one is toughness, decision making, and accuracy. And toughness can easily be number one, due to the fact that that's the one lack toughness. It lack toughness in the pocket with the quarterback, it will affect his decision making and accuracy as well. And so in that sense, when you're tough mentally and you're tough physically, then you can still deal with pressure in the pocket. You can still make good decisions, and you can still be accurate with the football based on the amount of pressure that you have. And then you have to be able to play a shootout game, and you want to have the ability to play a very tough game, a grinded out kind of game. And those are the really the difference in quarterbacks that I see, that I actually look for in a quarterback. Those three characteristics. And like I said, if you lack toughness, it can affect your decision making and accuracy.
What made you one of the greats, Damon? And I'm greats. Okay, I'm saying that I've already called that part. I want to know what your secret sauce was, because you did it before it was sexy. I'm just saying, like now we're talking about it. But you set that standard.
One of the things I recognized in myself is my ability to run and throw, and I knew that I had to bring that to the stadium every day, or every game that I played. The other part is, we always say, like my brother Marcus always says that football intelligence. I had FBI with. I had the football intelligence of understanding our scheme, understanding defenses. And then I said, as small as I was at 6'1", about 180 pounds, my first year in the CFL, I was 160 pounds.
Wow.
But I had toughness. I had accuracy. I had elusiveness. And so if someone say, well, give us an idea how you played. I could be a pocket passer when I needed to be. And then when I ran the ball, I almost ran like me and my brother had pretty much the same running style.
Now you bring up your brother,
Yeah.
For those who don't know, there are really darn good football genes in this family. Like if it hasn't been cloned out yet and sold like on the market for making the next epic athlete, I don't know what has. But you're talking about Hall of Famer Marcus Allen, correct?
That's correct. That's my oldest brother, my older brother.
And what was that like growing up? Were y'all playing street ball all the time and just dominating other kids like Debo style in the neighborhood? Like I need to know what that was like.
We play football in the street. We emulate what we've seen on the television because we're also a baseball family. And so we all played baseball and football going back and forth ever since we were about 7 years old. But yes, when we're outside back in those days where you can be outside and playing, we're outside playing all day long. And somehow when dinner time was called, and Marcus probably beat us to the table majority of the time because, he's much bigger, 6'3" and a half, 200 something pounds. And he seemed like he was that same size in high school. But yeah, he ate all the food by the time we got to the table.
That's why you were skinny, because Marcus was fast and big and he ate all the food.
Yeah, he got to the table first.
Okay, I like it. Now,
he has one of the most famous Super Bowl highlights. I just want to hear if he ever bugs you about that or anything. Just like giving you a shot. Like, look at that highlight.
Well, it's amazing. And my whole family was at that game.
Yeah.
In Tampa, and I wasn't there because I was playing baseball at Cal State Fullerton, and it might have been going towards the college baseball playoffs. And I won a national championship at Fullerton playing baseball with the baseball team, and so I didn't go to the game, but I definitely watched it on TV, and it's always great to see your brother perform at the highest level. And like saying, when you want to perform, you want to perform when the game is on the line. And
right.
For me, the things that most people remember is, I played in 4 Grey Cup games, and 3 of the Grey Cup games that I played in, I was the Grey Cup MVP of the game too. And so it's those games where you dream about performing at the highest level. And every time I got in those kind of games, it almost felt like deja vu that I've been here before, because I've dreamed all my life about playing these kind of games. And so, and my brother's the same way.
Yeah.
That's why, his greatest performance was the Super Bowl. And so I've learned a lot, from my older brother, Marcus, and my older brother, Harold. They taught me how to be professionals on and off the field. My dad and mom taught us about the respect we have for the game. And so it's a combination of all. We know history. We can go all the way back to Fitz Pollard, to Jackie Robinson, and all these guys that opened the door for us. And so for me, I have a great amount of respect for people who came before us, but also a great amount of respect for the game of football. And the game always would be bigger than the individual. And so with that, you bring a certain type of mentality when it comes to, playing the game.
Damon, you mentioned, Jackie Robinson and your relationship with baseball. Now, several quarterbacks that I can think of, being Patrick Mahomes, there is a big baseball connection, right? In terms of guys that could have gone pro in either baseball or football. Can you bring us into that just a little bit? Because, for some people, they might not see where that connection is. But I'd be interested in hearing about it from your perspective.
That connection and what it benefits is their ability to drop down to different levels and throw. Being a baseball player, whether you're an infielder or you play, outfielder, but mainly infielders, like the Russell Wilsons. They can drop down, both sidearm, they can throw on the run, sidearm, and all those things. So it makes it look like it's effortless throwing. And so when you look at these type of quarterbacks, you'll realize that baseball is part of their makeup and they play the game. And so when you get quarterbacks like that, they throw totally different than everyone else.
wrong, right? They break all the quarterback throwing rules, and yet you're like, well, why is that a rule? Because look what he just did with that, right? And it usually does have that baseball connection.
Mm-hmm. And so you can go all the way back to Elway when he played and for the Yankees, and his ability to throw, and you have, guys. I came out during the time with Randall Cunningham. We're in the same division. He's at UNLV, and I'm at Cal State Fullerton, and we're going head to head, week to week, calling each other, talking about what we did this way, and we get to the point where, I mean, this is Randall Cunningham, and so when he came in the league and started playing, and he took the league by the storm, I mean, we used to have conversations that, man, you should be in this league right now playing. But like I said, size was my, what I say, downfall in a sense, because like I said, when I first came out, I was about 160 pounds, even though I did, very well at the combine, but it was still that opportunity. But then that mentality didn't change me. I still went to another league and did the same thing I felt I would have done in that football league with the opportunity. And so it's always amazing to see, because it's never where you start or where you go. It's I embraced my journey.
Well, and
that's why I could be happy with the journey that I had, and say that, man, I never thought I was going to play 23 seasons.
Yeah, you played forever. I was just going to say that, like, you were small and you took the punishment, you were tough, and you still made it to 42 years old, right?
Yeah, I retired. I retired at 44.
Tom Brady, take note. Check.
42 MVP, right?
I was 42 MVP.
There you go. Yeah.
Well,
so,
and Damon, you mentioned Fritz Pollard. You mentioned Randall Cunningham. You also mentioned, Jackie Robinson, another trailblazer. And we know there used to be a perception about African-American quarterbacks and the intelligence factor. Now, obviously, we've seen, thankfully, in recent history, that perception seems to have been diminished, although I would argue that some of those old ways of thinking might still be holding people back in the highest ranks of coaching at times. But I mean, this is something that other people talk about in theory, and yet you lived with it, right?
You're right.
How real was that for you? Did you get that pushback, and when did you finally feel like, you got the respect of obviously having that FBI, right? Being that guy who isn't just smart enough, he's the smartest guy out there, right? Because quarterbacks have to be good.
But even in that situation, it still overshadows my talent. Still overshadows my, because like when people talk about yours, they only talk about my skill, and man, how skillful he is, how easy it is, effortless he runs, and the kind of plays he can make and dominate the game. And but like saying, that's the one aspect that if anyone would say anything about my game, they say, well, man, he performed always in the big games. He was very skillful, but they don't really talk that much about my FBI. And I say that you don't play 23 years without having football intelligence to play, and you don't win MOP when you're playing with a bunch of 20-something-year-olds and still have the ability at 42 to dominate the game. Because the older I got, the slower the game became. And that's the same thing that's happening with Brady, Breeze. Yes, they may not throw the football as well as they did when they're in their 20s and 30s, but at the end of the day, the game is slow to those guys.
So, is there someone you admire right now watching at the NFL level or the CFL level?
I'm a big fan of, I'm a quarterback guy. So, and the reason why I like quarterbacks is due to the fact because I play the position and I know what every quarterback deals with, even at when you're 7 years old or even when you're in high school or university. I mean, we all go through the same situations and scenarios. And so the thing I like about Brady is his fierce competitiveness. Mahomes, I like his skill, even though I wouldn't put him at you know as the greatest quarterback, sort of said little goat. I wouldn't put him there yet
There
because
we go.
he's letting you know that he's not even to the point where he's understanding defenses and those
Right,
things.
he said
And
that.
so,
Yeah.
and so, with that being said, I mean, you can appreciate the Breezes and what they're able to do. Peyton Manning, all these guys, and I can look at their skill set and say, man, he may not be able to run, but look how easy it is and how he maneuvers in the pocket and makes the quick decisions and puts himself in positions to throw. Those are the pocket passes you say, well, that's a skill that, that's why they're still playing, because that's a skill that many quarterbacks who are two-way quarterbacks that don't have. So to be able to read defense pass, set up quickly, not be a runner, but make good decisions and control your team like Peyton Manning, you can really appreciate his skill set. And so, but I like football.
I have a question I ask all of the coaches I know and people with high FBI like yourself. And that is, what is your favorite, your favorite tell you picked up on an opponent, right? Like, what's your favorite thing that you picked up that you knew what they were going to do?
What's the favorite thing?
Yeah, the one that just really helped you. Like, I'll give you an example. I asked Brett Favre, and he was so excited. He was like, because, we just happened to meet on a red carpet, and a reporter had asked me if I could ask him one question, what would be? And I was like, what is the best tell you ever picked up on a defense? And he had just turned back around, and she's like, well, you might get a chance to ask him. So I did, right? Because, a lot of the questions we get asked were like, oh, how did that make you feel? Blah. No, I want to know what you picked up. What was the cheat code that you got on a defense? And he started laughing. And he goes, you know what, Jen? When I first played, I didn't even realize how important that was. But the longer I played, the more I needed that. And he said the best one I ever got was, with Brian Urlacher. When he raised his hand, that meant he was blitzing opposite. Didn't mean we could stop him, but at least I knew where he was coming from.
Yeah, there's some fundamental aspects that, like, when it comes to each player has to evaluate, when they play, is because, after a while, everyone starts to have their tendencies. And that's why I have to constantly change up. I always have to look at myself and see, am I giving away things? And so, yes, over time, you start to, like, for example, you got a game plan against a team, and you start to watch the films and get a feel for what they like to do. But then I will watch the film again. Once I have a good feel of, down and distance, what they like to play in these coverages, then I watch the film again, and I try to find the individual that is giving away their coverages before the ball snap. Yep. And then once you have an idea that who that individual is, and then you start to understand, okay, based on his alignment, what he does, these things, because it can be a big difference from when he's blitzing, he's at 2 to 3 yards or 5 yards and under, and then when he's actually in coverage, he's actually further back, right? And so those kind of keys will give you man zone. Oh man, that makes a huge difference. And for me, my skill set, my intelligence, what I feel, and what I'm capable of doing on the field, I don't care who we playing. If I know what you're doing before the ball snap for 4 quarters, you're not going to beat me that day. I don't care if you're the Green Bay Packers or any of the NFL teams. If I know what you're doing before the ball snap, and I'm playing against you for 4 quarters, it's going to be a long day.
Well, and speaking of that FBI, and let's circle back up to this conversation with the CFL XFL potential merger. I have a plan that's kind of all of the sudden formulating in my head, QB. I know that Danny Garcia, XFL has a female owner, and I've got to believe that Danny, The Rock, and hopefully the CFL as well are going to want to do things differently. So, I'm sitting here talking to you, thinking about the combined FBI, and I think we should kind of put put a plan together and, tell them we want to roll. So like, if we were to put that plan together, could I include you on the coaching staff?
Absolutely. You can go to Rock first. Go to Rock first. Go to the Rock first. I mean, we want to go to the head honcho.
But look,
I wish I was a fly on the phone or somebody, a fly on the wall, and understand this conversation, because the questions are, the border issues, the style of play, what they gonna play, American style, or are they gonna play Canadian rules? I mean, it's all these different things that you have to look at and then have to iron out. And I'm more interested in that. And then the conversation, are they talking about in the future conversations, or this is something they're trying to implement now? If they're implementing now, it doesn't make sense. But in the future, it could make sense. And that's why I guess you would have these conversations. But I'll also look at having a conversation with the National Football League and try to, create a plan with them directly, because if it's all everyone's trying to play to be a feeder for the National Football League, we'll just go right to the head honchos.
Well, I know the AAF actually was designed to be a feeder league, particularly with the focus on the development of quarterbacks and offensive linemen, right? Having coached there, I know it.
Yeah.
I feel like with the XFL and the CFL talking, it may not be to feed to the NFL, but it may be to actually put some pressure on and compete with the NFL for the first time. And, you said The Rock, but I'm still going back to Danny Garcia, who The Rock credited as the architect behind that purchase. And knowing that he credited her as the architect of that purchase, I want to talk to her. I want to pick up the phone, because somehow I feel like she would take a call from another woman in football, because there are not.
Absolutely.
And
we
if
are
I
definitely
can say, I already have the GOAT of the CFL who's ready to roll with me to roll with y'all, I think we might be working with something. I feel like we could start some rumors just like they did today.
No, absolutely. You can start it, because we're in that culture and that environment where women are getting the opportunities to do every aspect of the game of football. And so, you make a really good point. And he made a really good hiring on the inclusiveness and the equality that come along in the conversations that they're having, from referees to people in the front office to coaching positions. And so I'm just interested in that. I wish I would have been in that call, man. It would have been
I
great
think we
to
all
hear.
want to be on that call, right? I know I do.
Yes.
Like the second I saw it, I was like, ooh, now we're working on something.
Well, absolutely. That was the first thing I said, XFL and CFL potentially merging. Wow.
The GOAT and the most electrifying man. How does that sound?
I like it.
Yes. We can do it.
I absolutely like it.
And I'm prepared to play either or, whether it's American ball or if it's Canadian style ball. So,
I thought you meant you were playing either or, the electrifying man or the GOAT. Maybe you're just both.
No.
How about that?
All right. It would be pretty cool.
All right, Jen. So time to wrap up. We have any final questions for the legend here?
Oh gosh, I never want to let the legend leave me, but he's lucky that we're over Zoom, because I had a relatively legendary career myself, and
I know
notorious for.
Hey, I like your mindset.
Look, I was notorious for making quarterbacks' lives difficult. So Damon Allen, knowing that you were the GOAT of the CFL and the man of all the men with the highest FBI, I'm not even going with the sweetness of your feet or the strength of your arm. I'm going on your FBI. If you had to face off with me, okay, great on great, right? It might be like, it's a horse, but it's like goat versus baby goat, because I'm little.
Yeah.
What would your strategy have been to defeat me?
Oh, wait. Are we talking about open field or what were you talking about? Are you
Oh, look,
blitzing?
I'm coming off the edge. I'm coming off the edge. I'm your contain. You're not getting outside me.
Are you sure?
I'm sure.
Are you coming off my front side or my back side?
Oh, definitely your backside.
Oh, that's easy then. I'll look away. I'll give you the comfortability that you think I don't see you and then spin out on you.
Oh, no, you're not going to spin out. I got a great angle. So you're going to come right at me? I would have said you just wanted to run away. Although I will give you what Drew Pearson once said. Another great, when we met, he said, "Do you think you could have tackled me?" I said, "Absolutely." And he said, "Really?" I said, "Yeah, linebackers didn't look like me when you played. Your numbers wouldn't have been nearly as good. You might have taken one for the team." Just
see, that's the one thing. That's the one thing I like about you.
Hey, look, I'm gonna bring all of it to the table. And
Absolutely.
if it's nothing else, then you just thought she's kind of cute, and I might give her 1 minute to feel good about herself before I spin out. Look, I take it.
Yeah, but that happens all the time, man. You start to drop back and you see the person come off the edge, and then you turn away because it's about timing. And when you spin out, and I got to give you that comfortability, like, oh, she doesn't see me, and then I do see.
Oh yeah, that quick little boot because I came to the wrong shoulder instead of the upfield shoulder. Yeah, you're not gonna.
Yes, absolutely, man.
I'm not going for the cheat shoulder. I got you on the back shoulder. So if you try and reverse pivot to me, you're done, son.
Hey, like I said, if I know you're a disciplined person, I can fake it and then step up. It doesn't matter. As long as I get rid of the ball. That's all I care about is getting rid of the ball, because that means if you're coming off the edge, that had to be a blitz, and so the ball would have been out already.
Oh, goodness. You think I would have given that? I might have been in the cover 3 lined up over the slot, and you would have thought I was in coverage.
Ooh, then if you would have came and it was a cover 3 zone, then you're only going to bring 4 plus you 5. We got enough people to protect, as long as they're smart enough, right? So I wouldn't even panic.
Hey, did they have the FBI? I guess that's the question. I need this in a simulation. You know how we can get those simulations? I need that simulated matchup. Damon Allen versus Jen Welter. I think it should happen.
I think, Jen, what we're going to do, we're going to put it on social media, Instagram, Twitter. We're going to get a vote, everything. We're going to get it going.
Hey, I'm going to send you a text, a video, so you guys can watch it, right? You can send it to your producers and stuff, and you tell me if you can you can tell me, okay? I'm just gonna give you something. I'm just gonna give you a little
taste. Little taste.
Give you a little
reminder of why he played 20 how many years?
Right. I'm gonna give you a taste. This is in a championship game too.
Is that like goat's milk? Is that what that would be?
Yeah.
I'm getting goat milk, goat cheese. I'm getting something from the goat.
Hey, Russell Westbrook when he does this. Hey, I'm carrying a little goat with me. Come on now. But I love your mindset and your attitude and your confidence. I love people that way.
Hey, that's why we get along. Game recognizes game. You are one of the greatest of all time, and I could not think of a quarterback with higher FBI or a better fit to kick off this podcast, especially with the XFL, CFL, rumors starting. I couldn't have it any other way, Damon. And I so appreciate you always believing in and supporting me, because, that's what it's all about.
I have great amount of respect for, what you're able to accomplish and being the first female coach. And I mean, now you look at the game now, I mean, kudos to you to step through to make that happen, because now you're giving more females confidence that they can go through it. And I'm pretty sure even with the Bill Walsh diversity program that, going into 2021, I mean, there's going to be a lot more females actually, applying as well. And so it's amazing what you've done. I respect it, and continue to build from there.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you for joining us. Always appreciate you.
Always. Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
We had an awesome interview earlier. Just a little reflection on that and taking a look at the GOAT of the CFL.
I love Damon Allen. Like I have had the privilege of, hosting some rooms with him on Clubhouse and literally like watching games and kind of seeing them through his eyes and talk about FBI. And if you guys didn't pick up on this yet, FBI is football IQ. And a lot of the times, it was even interesting hearing, people would talk about, his escapability and his athleticism, and yet they wouldn't talk about as much his football IQ. And yet, just listening to him talk about how he would use they would use motions to be able to see where the defenses were. I mean, that is what makes quarterbacks great. And what was it, 23 years he played?
Quite a few, yeah.
Right? Like, he's got Tom Brady by years, in case people know that, right? And I mean, just what a brilliant football mind, and one of the nicest guys you'd ever want to meet, right? Humble, and yet, well, maybe not. I mean, he thinks he could have gotten outside of the edge on me. I don't know how I feel about that. But how was that for you? Having grown up in Canada and been a CFL. I know you said he broke your heart at what, 9 years old?
8 years old. He broke my heart. I was a big KC Printers BC Lions quarterback that year. Of course, he left the year before that, and they traded him away, and he just comes right into Toronto, wins the whole thing at, I think, 39 years old. It's crazy. 42-year-old MVP, like you said. I don't think he gets enough credit for the longevity, especially at his size. Just a phenomenal athlete. And
that he got into the league at like 160 pounds.
Exactly.
Right? Like, and, while some people would be surprised that, that lightweight he would hold up, I have a feeling, having, looked at those clips, I don't know if you watched them all like I did, but his escapability was amazing, right? Mm-hmm. He would give he would recall Shakira's song. When they say the hips don't lie, his hips lie. They lie. They don't tell the truth, because he was breaking ankles, breaking hearts, and breaking right past defenders, literally like it was like pinball, them trying to get to him. And I do think that, basically his mobility was killer, but it was also the ability to see what they were doing. Like he said, if I know what you're doing over the course of a game, over 4 quarters, oh yeah, I'm going to beat you, right?
Before Russell Wilson's spin move and before Dak Prescott's hip exercises, we had Damon Allen. So that is episode 1 of the Juke podcast. You can find us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, all social platforms at the Juke Pod. Check us out and stay tuned for episode 2.
Yeah, and hopefully our Jukes are 1/10 as smooth as Damon Allen's.